Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome back to the tournament. Today, the last battle from the A group, the United States versus Italy. Now, because of the track record of the Italians and some other contestants, the United States is already guaranteed a place in the semi-finals. This is not so much a formality, but they do have to go through the Italians just to complete the group. I am fearful on the part of the Italians, because the Super Alaskas, well, they're pretty super. They're really dangerous ships. So let's see how well the Italians stand up to that menace. This tournament is currently sponsored by The Block Zone. You can see them here. The winner is going to get this 1 in 200 scale. It's a big one. Bismarck. The Bismarck is going to be taking up 1.25 meters in your living room once you have all 7,164 pieces complete. If you want to get a project from the Block Zone, they have a lot of them. They got military gear. I've recently actually made this car with Quinn. I'll add a clip. And they got all sorts of different gear. You can go for cars. You can go for military vehicles, which you might find yourself interested in, ranging from anything like a Ferdinand, a bridge layer, Abrams. We got a missile carrier tank. This seems to be something out of an odd contraption game. They got many projects, and yes, these projects are not necessarily cheap, but if you use code STEALTH upon checkout or use my link down below in the description, you're going to be getting 10% off, and you directly support the channel. Big thank you to the Block Zone for sponsoring the tournament and providing that Bismarck to the eventual winner, but we're not there yet. First, we have a couple of battles to do. Join me for the next one. The Impero class, operating for the last time, as this is the last battle for the A group. 13.5-inch guns, augmented by 3.5-inch single-barrel secondaries, and some torpedo launchers that can reach the enemy, well, now, really, 23-kilometer range. On the other side of the spectrum, we have the United States Super Alaska, sailing in a line abreast formation, and with 13.5-inch guns, 12 per ship, very capable of quickly reducing any ship to rubble. Doesn't matter if it's using armor piercing or if it's using HE. If you're on the receiving end of this murderous volley of fire from the Americans, well, I think the best plan is to get out of range, because anything else, you'll not likely survive. The range on the Italians might allow them to do that, if the AI would actually understand that. See, there's the first flooding. Marshall Pen. The Americans can chase up to, what, 30 kilometers? Yeah. The Americans actually have more range with their 13.5s than the Italians do, because the Italians only have 25-kilometer range. Now, the Italians, with their shells, HE high cap, have a pretty decent chance of setting the Americans on fire. The Italians, however, miss a couple of barrels. They only have 9 barrels, the Americans have 12. If the Italians want to win, they're going to have to use the torpedoes to try and sway the battle to their favor, because that's something the Americans don't have. The Americans will respond to the torpedoes, most likely in time, but, as I mentioned before, just turning a ship around, forcing it to respond to your actions, might mean that they have a better chance of survival. Because for that brief period that the Americans are turning around, their turrets won't be shooting you. It won't take long, however, so better make use of it while it lasts. Americans are gearing up from the salvo. Here's one. Oh, first hit from the Italians. Low amount of damage. The Americans have already done some damage to the Impero here. Uh-oh, damage to the main gun. The main gun turret roof is only 6 inches. That's not a whole lot. So if the Americans are able to get plunging fire in, and they might, then there is a potential for them to destroy one of the Italians' main turrets. Ooh, right through the main deck. Main deck on the Italian ships, 6 inches. But if these shells keep plunging down like they are, yeah, that's not enough. But then again, deck armor is not really ever enough. Oh, the Italians have been listening to what I've been saying. They have launched their torpedoes. Bacana sent hers. Patrona has not yet sent hers. The Impero... Well, she's thinking about it. She has a target selected, but she's not enjoying the launch yet. Oh, good, decent damage against the Americans here. That's their Super Alaska taking damage. Parcel pen. Fires are getting set. We're still firing armor piercing. I think from both sides. Yeah, both sides. Now, I do feel like a formation like this, line abreast... line abreast, is more vulnerable to torpedoes. You're gonna have to respond a bit faster than if you're running line astern. Or line ahead, I think they call it. We're pretty even for damage. 3.5k for 3. Partial. Partial. Where are Bacana's torpedoes at? They should be getting here soon. Where are they? Here? Whoa, destroyed the main tower on the Super Alaska. Oh, there's here, one there. Yeah, okay, so they're all over the place. Whoops, don't mean to take control. I'm still not seeing torpedo launchers from the ships. Impero is getting hammered by the Americans. She's really suffering now. That flooding is going to ramp up quickly. Arguably, she's lucky that the Americans are still using armor piercing, because had they used HE, the ship wouldn't be here anymore. That's a flash fire. It's not the first time that it happens to the Italians. Plons. It won't be the last. Their 3.5 inchers have also been knocked out. They have some ammunition for the mains, which is pretty unusual. Most of the time, they actually don't save any torpedo or any shells from the mains. Have the Americans responded to the torpedoes yet? Not really. There's another torp over there. I think it's rather unlikely that the Americans will take a hit, but these torpedoes are pretty sneaky. And they are 24-inch. If the Italians can land a hit, maybe they can salvage the problem that they're having with the Impero. I mean, it's not going to fix the Impero, but it might fix their ability to stay in this fight for at least a little bit. Yeah, ship's turning. The other ships are turning as well. This is the temporary reprieve that the Italians are going to get. The Impero is still fighting. Interesting. Bacana trying to train her guns onto a new target, I suspect. They managed to inflict some... Ooh. Oh, you're... Oh. It splashed. It almost had him. Bacana had launched her torps. Impero has not. Patrona still has torps. They're well within range. And they're not being used. Missed opportunity. The Americans are struggling to get their guns back on target. They're still trying to focus down the Super Alaska here. Oh, there goes the Impero. Sunk. Oof. That's the last of her. They might make even if they're able to take out the Super Alaska here. Because the Super Alaska is still a threat. I'm just not sure what the group's firing at. The lead ship here. Yeah. I've picked a new target. The Americans are in range with their secondaries. So the Italians are going to suffer from not only armor-piercing shells from the mains, but also HE from the secondaries. And that is, well, counting on the fact that the Americans are not switching to high explosive. Which they can do at any moment. But it's now the Italians' turn to start using high explosive. Why is the Patrona not firing? She has an angle issue? I doubt that. Bacana is setting a lot of fires on the American ship here. If the Patrona would add her firepower into the mix, she might be able to, together with the Bacana, burn down one of these ships. There she goes. Oh, they selected a new target? No. No. Don't. You were close to overwhelming this ship. And I think the Super Alaska here... One of her turrets has been destroyed. The other two are trying to turn around on this turn. I'm not sure what the A turret's doing. I think the Bacana, however, is in a lot of trouble. Flooding. Buoyancy issues. Structural integrity issues. Patrona. Firing a partial salvo. It's like she's range finding. Oh, she's switched back. Yeah, look, if you keep switching your targets, you're not going to end up taking anything down. Oof. More flooding on the Patrona. Oh, sorry, the Bacana. Come on, Italy, you have a chance here, but you're gonna have to use your torpedo launchers if you want to make this work. Just go aggressive with the torpedo launchers, swing the ships around, send more torpedoes at the Americans. The Americans will spot them, most likely, and an anti-torp 3 will stop most of the torpedo damage, but you will give them pause. You will force them to respond to you. Alabama and Guam and Super Alaska all firing armor-piercing shells. But the Patrona is vulnerable. She's broadside on. Her main citadel might not be open. But bow and stern are. And on top of that, Bacana and Patrona are operating very closely together. Meaning that if you don't miss, or if you don't hit one, you can still hit the other. Oh boy. Italians. Yeah, there we go. That was a lot of damage. Rudder's been damaged. Flooding. I think a torpedo launcher got knocked out there. Bacana turning around, trying to still fight with her mains. But they're just not doing enough damage against the Americans. And the Patrona is trying to hit something apparently so far behind her that she's unable to bring her guns to bear. Bacana, she fixed her flooding. Her B turret, for some reason, is stuck. It's not destroyed, it's just stuck. And the Americans continue to lay into the Italians. Damage is mostly getting blocked, as it's only secondary damage so far. Oh, Bacana launched. That would be interesting if it hits. It is 8 kilometer range, or yeah, 8.1 to the Alabama. But the Italians are turning so much. Now, if the Italians continue to turn and the Americans react to that, that means they can try to follow them in, which would invalidate the torpedo salvo. Oh, another launch. Only a partial one from the Patrona. She apparently... I think she had a torpedo launcher destroyed. Yeah, one of her stern launchers has been destroyed. So she can only send out 3, which are doing all sorts of weird shit. Patrona trying to use high explosive. Structural integrity is getting hammered. There's a mix of HE and AP coming after the Bacana. Bacana lost her main tower. Bad news for damage control. She also lost her fire control. Doesn't seem to really affect her though. Her accuracy is still 60%. But this guy, sorry, gal, is going down very, very soon. Torpedo potential, maybe. Might hit the Guam. 324 inchers hitting an already damaged ship. It has potential. When are they going to find the torpedoes? There goes the Bacana. Right? They took her down with an extensive fire. Oh, that's rough. At this point, the Guam should be aware of the torpedoes. You'd think. She's just herpa-derping her way into the torpedoes at this point. The AI, as far as I know, doesn't slow down their ships in order to avoid torpedoes, let alone reverse engines. Are you gonna get hit twice? Wow. Boom, boom. 7,600 damage, almost 7,700. That changes the scales. But not enough. There was another salvo. There's one torp here. Super Alaska is not out of the fight yet. She's still fighting. I think Guam will be able to get her flooding under control. Ooh, if, however, the Patrona is able to burn down the Alabama, that could be a problem. Because then the Americans got two very, very badly wounded ships. This could get close after all. Unfortunately, the Patrona cannot send her own torpedoes anymore because she doesn't have them. Alabama's lost 15% of her crew. Guam has lost 16. Super Alaska's lost 23. The Patrona herself lost 28. It's not affecting the ship yet. With a spacious crew or spacious quarters, you can take hits like these and not suffer any real consequences. But I think it's just too much incoming shells. Too much incoming fire damage from the Americans. 5 inchers have done almost nothing. Torpedo launcher destroyed on the Patrona. More fires are getting set. Now she's starting to suffer at 30% damage, or 30% crew loss. And sure enough, she's dishing out against the Alabama, but it's not enough. The Alabama so far can take the hits. She can deal with the fires better than the Patrona can. Secondary gun destroyed on the Patrona, not that anybody cares. Damage to main gun, more fires. Structural integrity dropping 10%. No, sorry. I thought it was going to drop a lot faster with the fire damage that she's been taking. Flooding. 7% structural. A couple of AP hits ought to do it. Patrona down to 6% buoyancy. She's fighting. Fighting, but most likely not really enough. If she can burn down the Alabama, that would be a very nice twist of fate. Alabama, I was wondering, is she still fighting? Yeah, she is. Alabama now also losing some control of the ship. But the Patron is down to 2%. Ooh, you're fighting AP? No, that was HE. 3 more fires. Oh, there she goes. Structural damage. The ship finally collapsed. Oof. No more Italian ships. They did manage to inflict massive damage on the Americans. Especially those 2 torpedoes that connected with the Guam caused a lot of harm. But they didn't actually take any of them completely down. They didn't take any of them out of the fight. And despite flooding, the Americans did continue to lay down fire with those ships. They did continue to deal damage. Which is surprising, considering most of the time, ships can't do that. So that was actually a bit of a surprising outcome. I thought the United States would very quickly wipe Italy off the map. The Italian ships showed that that was not the case. The United States really took a beating from the Italian ships there. The torpedoing of the Guam could have been worse. Could have been a lot worse. And that could have cost them the ship. I think if the Italian ships hadn't switched fire as much as they did, the United States might have lost the battle. It was a really close fight, and I enjoyed that. Anyway, the points go to the victor. Not 21, 1 point. Which means the US is very solidly going up against the, I believe, winner from the B pool. Oh boy. The first in the B group is Austria-Hungary. United States, prepare to get burned. Or maybe Austria-Hungary, prepare for incoming fire. Especially the armor-piercing shells might hit the Austro-Hungarian decks very hard. We're going to see. in one of the future videos. However, first, one more match. Russia versus Spain. Is this going to go for the Russians, and will they salvage their honor, or is Spain going to bring in another point? Now, Spain won't exactly win with that, but 2 wins, 2 losses is better than 1 win, 3 losses. Then again, 1 win, 3 losses for Russia. I'm sure they would appreciate that. Let's see how it goes in the next video. Join me for that one, and I'll see you guys there.